Good morning. Welcome to How Are We Here, my little channel where I can share with you all the neat things I read, watch, or look up on the interwebs. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we are here according to the people of ancient Greece. So sit back and let me tell you some tales. In my search for old legends of creation, I remember the myths of the Greek gods I learned about when I was young. So I hopped onto the interwebs to refresh tales I heard decades ago. Tales like Clash of the Titans, The Golden Fleece, Hercules' The Legendary Journeys, and more gave me but a taste, because variations anywhere from 3 to 5,000 years old exist. Let's sail back to a time of myth and legend. Like many creation stories, the beginning was empty and dark. The only thing within this void was a black winged bird called the Nyx. She would lay a golden egg, and then she would sit upon it for ages. Finally, life would stir within, and the egg would crack. It was Eros, god of love. Half the shell would rise up, become the sky, and the other half would form the earth. Eros named the sky Uranus and the earth Gaia. Uranus and Gaia would eventually have children, and then grandchildren. Kronos, child of Uranus and Gaia, would become afraid of the power his children had, so he decided to swallow his kids whole when they were born. His sister wife, Rhea, pissed off that her kids were getting swallowed, she gave Kronos a stone wrapped in a blanket and hid their youngest Zeus from him. Zeus would grow up in hiding. Being raised in secret, he would become powerful, and upon reaching manhood, Rhea would help Zeus trick Kronos into spitting up his brothers and sisters. A muddy war between Kronos and his allies, and Zeus and his siblings, would commence. Zeus's faction won, and under his leadership, they would furnish Gaia with life and Uranus with the stars. We'll go into more about this a little bit later. But first, let's look at a little bit of a different beginning. Documented on papyrus scrolls surviving from 800 BCE, it recounts oral tellings from centuries before. This origin story comes from some of the earliest Greek writings that have survived. In the beginning, there was nothing but chaos, a formless emptiness, a great void. It is believed that chaos was something of a careless being, a primordial god who lived in a dark, chaotic void with no order whatsoever. With chaos in charge, there was no settled land. There was no sun, no moon, no flowing rivers, no fresh water, no seas, no mountains, and there was no pure air to breathe. Just a void. Out of this void, the primordial deities would rise: Gaia, the earth goddess; Eros, goddess of love and attraction; the abyss, part of the underworld; and Erebus, the unknowable place where death dwells. All on her own, without being impregnated, Gaia gave birth to Uranus, the sky god. He would then fertilize her. The first Titans were born from this union of earth and sky, 6 males and 6 females. Kronos, representing time, was born last. Gaia and Uranus decreed no more Titans were to be born. Power-hungry, Kronos castrates his father and throws the severed genitals into the sea, which has arisen from his brother, the eldest Titan, Oceanus. He represented all fresh water and the Oceanus River that encircled the world. Side note, Aphrodite, goddess of love, beauty, and sexuality, arose from the severed genitals of Uranus. Kronos became the ruler of the gods with his sister wife Rhea. The other Titans became his court. Because Kronos had betrayed his father, he was deeply afraid of his kids doing the exact same thing. So each time Rhea gave birth, Kronos snatched up the child and he ate it. He did this 5 times. Rhea hated this. What mother wouldn't? So she tricked him. Rhea hid the last child, Zeus. Instead, she wrapped up a stone in baby's blanket, so Kronos ate the stone instead of the baby. Zeus, hidden in a cave and being raised in secret by either a nymph, a goat, or some warriors, various tellings exist. He eventually came up with a plan. He fed his father a drugged drink, which caused Kronos to vomit. Throwing up Rhea's other children in the stone, Zeus rallied his siblings and challenged Kronos and the other Titans. After a mighty war, Zeus and his siblings, the Olympians, were victorious, and the Titans were hurled down to be imprisoned in the abyss. Zeus was plagued by the same concern as his father, and after a prophecy that his first wife Metis would give birth to a god greater than he swallowed Metis. But she was already pregnant with Athena, and they both made him miserable until his head burst open. Athena came from his head, and she was the goddess of wisdom, civilization, and justice. She was fully grown, and she was dressed for war. Zeus was able to fight off all challenges to his power, and he remained the ruler of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. With Zeus as their leader, they began to furnish Gaia with life and Uranus with the stars. One of the sons of the Titans, Prometheus, did not fight with his fellow Titans against Zeus, and he was spared imprisonment. Prometheus, Forethought, and his twin brother Epimetheus, Afterthought, are also said to be Zeus's sons in some stories. So Zeus sent them to Earth to create men and to create the animals, to give them each a gift. Prometheus set to work forming men in the image of the gods, while Epimetheus worked on forming the animals. As Epimetheus worked, he gave each animal he created a gift. When Epimetheus completed his work, Prometheus had finally finished making men. Epimetheus had to shamefully inform his brother that he had foolishly given all of the gifts to the animals. Pissed off, distressed, Prometheus decided he had to give men fire. As the sun rose the next morning, Prometheus took some of the fire and he brought it back to man. He stole it from the sun god. He taught man how to take care of the fire, and then he left them to it. He also gave humans the ability to heal themselves. When Zeus discovered this, he was furious. Fire was only meant for the gods. He ordered his son to be chained to a mountain, and for a vulture to arrive every morning and pick out his liver every day, for all eternity. Still angry, Zeus then began to devise a punishment for mankind. Another one of his sons had created a woman of great beauty, Pandora. You probably know where this is going. He had each of the gods give her a gift. Zeus's present, though, was curiosity, in a box which he ordered for her to never open. He then presented Pandora to Epimetheus as a wife. Pandora's life with Epimetheus was happy except for her intense longing to open the box. She was convinced that because the gods and goddesses had showed her such many glorious gifts, and had placed on her such a wonderful life, this one would be as well. One day, when Epimetheus was gone, she opened the box. And of course, as many of you probably know, out of that box flew all of the terrible things that plague humanity today: pain, sickness, envy, and greed. Upon hearing Pandora's screams, Epimetheus rushed home and fastened the lid shut. But it was too late. All of those evils had already escaped. Later that night, they heard a voice coming from that tiny box. It was saying, "Let me out. I am Hope." Pandora and Epimetheus released her, and she flew out into the world to give all of humankind hope. The Symposium by Plato, written around 385 BCE, tells us another ancient Greek story. This time, about a time when humans were whole, each created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces. The gods became fearful of the power of these complete beings. They feared their power of hope, courage, and strength. One day, looking down from Mount Olympus, Zeus looked upon the strong love and peace that existed, and either from fear or envy, he created a plan. Zeus struck at each human. He struck them into 2 with his mighty lightning bolts. The aftermath was each human being having 1 face, 2 arms, and 2 legs. They also only had half a soul, now filled with loneliness, despair, and longing. These humans would go days without getting up and out of bed. They found difficulty in feeding themselves. But eventually, we learned to live our days with these feelings, broken shells of what we once were, forever wandering to find our soulmate. Aristophanes is the playwright in Plato's Symposium whom this quote should be attributed to. Love is born into every human being. It calls back the halves of our original nature together. tries to make one out of two and heal the wound of human nature. Each of us, then, is a matching half of a human whole, and each of us is always seeking the half that matches him. All right, a story from ancient Greece on where it all came from. We had two different beginnings here. The Nix, that bird, reminded me of the great cackler from Egypt. That's interesting. Maybe due to the locational closeness of these two religious myths? I'm not quite sure. Smarter people than me probably know. Greek tales are full of variations and contradictions, probably due to the many retellings over countless years by different locations of different people in Greece, before it all got documented down for us. I remember most of the story that starts from chaos, but I really enjoyed going over it again, digging more into it. That was fun for me, and I hope you enjoyed hearing it. I added the Soulmate story to kind of beef out the runtime, and I also found that one interesting. That one has stuck in my head, I think, from an episode of Xena the Warrior Princess from way back in the 90s. Anywho, thanks for tuning in. Definitely feel free to dig into other Greek tales. It's a plethora of wonderful, why is this the way it is type tales. Okay, well, once again, thank you all for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on, as much as I enjoyed the rambling. Finally, if you know anything about the YouTubes, do the whole like, comment, share, subscribe thing. It would be awesome. And thank you again from Odds and Ends by Jar. If you enjoyed hearing how the ancient Greeks thought we got here, maybe you'll like hearing about other creation tales. I have a couple other tales on the channel. Take a view. TLDR, I'm just some guy on the YouTube who did some reading on an interesting topic and shared it the best I could. Thank you all again. Have a great day. Take care. Keep safe.